want a cookie, little girl?
Come to Daddy. Come to Daddy.
Get the fuck off of me!
Come to Daddy.
Oh my God.
Come to Daddy.
We'll tear your soul apart.
So I finally got my shirt I ordered a couple months ago for the Labor Day weekend sale, which is the first weekend of, we just finished the first weekend of November, Labor Day, you know, generally first week of September. And I had tracked it. I was like, where's my, it was like, okay, shows I took them, it'd been a while. It's like, it shouldn't take that long to get a shirt. It's been a week and a half. I checked, the money's taken out of my account. Cool. So I tracked it. It shows it's been delivered. So I'm like, well, where is it? And our mailman, and more than one, but they suck. They're always, they can't tell the difference between the D building, the C building, the A building, the B, whatever. They're like, oh, 19. Just put it on one of the doorsteps that say 19. Like, I've had a person come to my house and be like, oh, I think this package is for you. I'm like, yeah, it is. How'd you get it? It's on my doorstep. Oh, you live in C19. Okay, thank you. And I've had stuff on show up on my doorstep where it's like, now I gotta walk over there. So I've dropped it off. And I just figured somebody got it and they were like, I wonder what this is. A shirt. Oh, cool. I got a brand new shirt. So I've been kind of, like the last 2 months, walking around the parking lot like, any red shirts? Anybody wearing a red shirt? Is that my shirt? But I never saw anybody. And then I had this issue with my rent. So they were trying to overcharge me or whatever. And I go in there, and they're like, oh, your name? And I told them my name. And they're like, oh, I think we have a package for you. I'm like, really? Cool. And it's, you know, it shows Fright Rags. All this time I've been, even though the whole time I knew it wasn't Fright Rags' fault, I was still like, because they send me emails, because I like kind of joined a little club to order something, you know, because you give them your email address. So I'm always kind of like, fuck you, Fright Rags. I didn't order anything. I didn't want to order anything at all because, like, I don't know who's going to get it. I'm just buying stuff for everybody. Luckily, it was $10 because it was on sale. But she gives it to me, and it's in a bag. It's a shirt. It doesn't have, like, a cardboard backing so that it's too, you know, too stiff. It doesn't say fragile. Don't want to put it in the, all you had to do was, like, fold it up a little bit. It would have fit perfectly in there. Could have. So that happened. It was like, were you guys just going to keep it forever? Wait till, like, my lease is up and I move months down the road and it's like, oh, by the way, we have your shirt. And I completely forget about it by then. Be like, what shirt? Oh. Thanks. It's stupid. Normally we put a note on people's door. Really? There should have been, well, there wasn't a note on my door. Normally. Which is weird. What's normally? I walk by people's porches all the time and there's packages. Wrong packages end up on my doorstep all the time. Normally, what's up with this random mailman? Just like sometimes I put it on the porch, sometimes I put it in the box, sometimes I drop it off in the office. It doesn't matter what size, shape, if it's combustible, if it breaks down, if it's whatever. I just, if I feel like walking that day or driving an extra 20 feet, I will. And if I don't, I won't. I'll just give it to the manager. They're, you know, literally 20 feet away from the mailboxes. So there, rant over. Kidding. I hate it when people say that. Rant over. It's like it makes them feel important, like they just said some important shit. Like, rant over. They'll say, like, they'll type 2 lines into Facebook and be like, ugh, rant over. It's like, rant? That wasn't a rant. You just typed 2 sentences. And they're usually the same people who are like the self-proclaimed assholes who are like, oh, yeah, I do that, but I don't care because I'm an asshole. It's like, I don't even call people assholes anymore. It's like, no, you're a douche. Okay? That wasn't a rant. You know, like, oh, I went to this restaurant and the waiter walked by like 3 times without offering me water. So, you know, I'm not going there ever again. I'm going to write a Yelp review. Rant over. So, you know, it's not a rant. Okay, you're just a douche that got mad at something. You know, quit trying to be more important than you are. You're in pain in somebody's ass. You ruin somebody's day for no reason. So, I don't know. I'm in a weird mood. I went grocery shopping tonight. without a list. Yeah, I just said fuck it, and I went. I didn't do my usual inventory, see what I got, see what I need. I'm in there buying shit I already have. It's okay. But I don't know, that's kind of the theme of this review tonight, is anger. Because the movie, you know it, because you clicked on it, so you probably read Hellraiser. But I was on this group site, and I said, like, out of all the classic horror movies, I think Hellraiser is the worst. And there's this weird backlash. People are like, what? I didn't realize that because I figured there's like 12, they're still making Hellraiser movies. It's like, by now, like, people are only dedicated for so long, and for so many sequels before they're like, come on, just stop. And some people might be like, I mean, that kind of ruins the original for most diehards, but these people were like, I mean, there were a couple that were like, yeah, it's overrated. But most people were like, because I wrote like, I wrote, prove me wrong. I meant to write, change my mind. That's what would have made it funny. But people are like, prove me wrong. They're like, I don't have to prove you wrong. You're just wrong. And then some other people were like, they're like, well, Hellraiser is better than Friday the 13th. So I'll take Hellraiser over Nightmare on Elm Street and Friday the 13th and Halloween any day, blah, blah. And then finally some person later was like, you know, if you're just going to say that and not provide any reason for not liking it, it's not even worth arguing, man. You're just wrong. And the whole time it's like, nobody's actually defended this movie. Nobody's ever been like, no, it's cool because they didn't explain. It's like, maybe you missed it. Because for me, I think part of what was lame about it was, not lame, but my expectation, because it was made in the era of slashers. And Pinhead is an iconic character who always gets kind of lumped in with like Freddy, Jason, Leatherface, Michael Myers, Chucky, Tall Man. And like, he doesn't kill anybody. He doesn't really do shit in these movies. He's just kind of like, just looks cool. He's just like, and talks occasionally. It's like, what even, like, nobody even dies in that movie. Spoiler. Okay, kind of somebody does. I'll get to that. So I'll continue my opinion of the movie after the review. We'll get back to this. But right now, let's go ahead and start the review, because tonight I'm going to ruin Hellraiser. So Hellraiser was filmed, or came out in 1987, which is weird. Like, I think I always kind of knew that, but Hellraiser and Pinhead, they just seem like kind of this thing. And I know it's based on a book that came out way before that, but even though people were reading books more in the 80s probably than now, it wasn't popular because of the book, I don't think. It's just weird because Hellraiser seems like something, I don't know, that's just kind of been around forever. You know, it's weird that Pinhead is younger than all the other horror icons that I mentioned earlier, other than Chucky. Chucky's younger than Pinhead, but Pinhead's younger than the rest of the guys. All except in the book. But on screen, he's younger. And that's weird. It just seems like he's been around longer. So, it opens up. Frank goes and buys a little box.
Oh, what's in the box? What's in the fucking box?
It's a puzzle box that opens the door to pleasure and pain. Well, except in his case, I think just pain. Frank's brother Larry and wife Julia arrive at the house where it seemed that Frank was just squatting. Looks like an abandoned church on the inside and out, but it actually belonged to their mother, who recently died. They're playing a movie on Sunday. First I thought Julia was the chick with the weird eyes from They Live. I know, racist. Isn't that funny? You can say two white people look the same, and people will be like, yeah, they do kind of resemble each other. So, Kirsty, Larry's daughter, she calls him up, and he wants her to stay with them, but she's like, I found a place, I'm just looking for work. She doesn't really want to have anything to do with Julia. She doesn't go along with her, and Julia totally looks the part of the wicked stepmother, but Kirsty just can't stand her. Kirsty pays them a visit that Sunday while they're moving in, and Julia finds the empty room that Frank died in. She finds a picture of him and begins reminiscing about the day she met him. They had sex. Rough sex, and she fell in love with him. She told him she'd do anything for him. Anything. Frank and Larry couldn't be more opposite from each other. Frank is the bad boy. Larry and two other guys are moving a mattress into the house. I don't know if they're movers or his friends. Sounds like they're movers. Hopefully they're movers, because they started hitting on his daughter like as soon as she walked in. But they're carrying it up, and on the way into a room, Larry, there's a nail sticking out of the door frame, and Larry, like, he's got the mattress in his hand, he bumps it in. It's a pretty severe wound, considering, like, a minute ago they were moving so slow I couldn't tell if they were going up the stairs or down. Oh! Larry enters Frank's death room where Julia is. He is seemingly bleeding to death, and the sight of blood makes him feel a little woozy. As the blood drops or drips from his hand to the floorboards seem to absorb it. So Julia and Kirsty take him to the hospital. All the while back upstairs, the blood is slowly bringing Frank back to life. What the hell's below that room? They're on the second floor. After the hospital, they have a little, a little housewarming party, like a little dinner party where they're all gathered at the table. And, Julia excuses herself and she goes back up into that room. And there she finds Frank. Well, most of him. He's kind of just skin and muscles and a voice. He tells her that the blood brought him back, but he's gonna need more, and she needs to help him. After the party, Kirsty leaves with Steve, one of the guests. He's about her age. He looks like a poor man's John Cusack. He's an amalgamation of every 80s big screen loser trying to get the girl who is clearly not interested in him. She just doesn't want to stay in the same house as Julia. They pass a weird homeless guy who just stares at them. But Kirsty's walking just fine now, which is kind of funny because right before they left a few moments ago, she was so fucked up she could hardly even walk. See, she comes back in the house. She's hammered. She's kind of using the walls to balance herself. You know, she thinks she's okay. I'm not judging her. I'm just saying. But you just keep watching. She goes up the stairs slowly. Takes the corner cautiously. But then, not like 10 minutes later in like movie time. Now look at her, she's fine.
Stay at Larry's house.
This is the same night. This is 10 minutes later. So yeah, I'm having a conversation. Never mind that weird guy in the background. That's the homeless guy. Julia wants to help Frank. So she decides she's going to go to the bar in the middle of the day and pick up guys. She meets a guy and brings him home. The guy's a little confused when she brings him upstairs into the empty room. But he's a guy, so he's still down to fuck. And he turns his back and starts undressing. And that's when she grabs her little claw hammer and hits him in the back of the head. Repeatedly.
Hammer time!
Frank crawls over and devours his body. Well, most of it. He just kind of sucks out like all the nutrients. He doesn't like eat his bones. He's not like a complete cannibal or anything. But then he slowly starts growing even more and more human back into his old self. Which is kind of weird because from that little amount of blood he got from Larry's flesh wound, you think a whole body would have just been like, now I'm Frank again. But no, he's going to need more bodies. Kirsty lands a job at the pet shop. And that weird homeless guy comes in and he pulls out a bag of live cricket. He didn't pull it out of his pocket. He pulls it from the shop that they used to feed whatever, frogs. And he just starts eating them. I mean, he doesn't just eat them. He like got them all over his face. He looks like Candyman has all those bees on his face and shit. He starts doing that, and meanwhile he's like eating them, and she's like, You need to leave. So he does. Julie brings another guy home.
Hammer time.
Now that Frank has consumed another body, or most of it, he has gotten to the point where he can now wear clothes and smoke cigarettes. He still doesn't have skin, but he sits with Julia and explains the puzzle box. Not just to her, but to us. To we, the audience, who are watching, like, what the hell was that intro all about? He explains that it's the doorway to heaven and hell, pleasure and pain, sometimes indecipherable between the two. You know, like heroin. Is this movie about heroin? Was Clive Barker on heroin? So, as he becomes more and more human, he's slowly escaping hell, and he thinks the Cenobites will be after. He knows this. Somehow he knows the Cenobites are going to be after him. I don't know how he knows that, but he does. So he needs to become whole as soon as possible and get out of there. That night, it's probably that night, Larry's watching the fights, and Julia's sitting down there watching with him, which normally watching boxing repulses her, but after what she's seen in the last week, she's kind of like, I've seen worse. What's going on? But then they hear a noise upstairs, which is Frank flipping out for some reason. He's banging on the walls and stuff, and Larry's like, what is that? Julia's like, I think, because there was a storm going on, so Julia's like, I think I left a window open. I'll go take care of it. He's like, no, I'll go take care of it. She's like, no, I'll take care of it. And so he starts going up there, and she tries to stop him, but he gets there and he opens the door, and there's no window open. There's nothing in there. So then she's like, she's got to hide Frank, and she doesn't know where Frank is. So she has to engage in a little subterfuge. So she pretends to want to have sex with good old Larry, and she gets him in the bed, and he's like, all right. Because, I don't know. I don't know what Larry's whole take on this has been for the past movie, but it's hard to imagine them ever being this lovey-dovey couple to begin with, but, like, hopefully it was better than what we've seen in the last, 45, I don't know where we're at in the movie as far as this goes. So they start, but then out of the closet, who's been peeping them from the closet is old Frank watching, and then he comes out, and he's got his knife, this knife that he's like, it's like a stiletto knife he's been brandishing throughout the movie, and I don't know how he got it back, but he's got it, and he's got a rat in his hand, and he's like, fillets it, and he's pretty much letting it know, it's like, I'm gonna kill Larry, and then I'll be back. But she does have some sort of like, what's the word I'm looking for? She don't want Larry to die. So she's like, no, and then Larry thinks she's talking to him, so he's like, what? And at first it's funny because he ignores it for the longest time. He's like, I can't hear you. I'm going. She's like, no, get out. And finally he's like, you know what? I don't know what the fuck to think of you. And he leaves. But Frank had like walked back into the closet, which is funny because Frank came like creeping out of the closet with his rat and everything, and she's like, no. And then by the time he's like, okay, you don't want me to kill Larry? Okay, I won't kill Larry. And then instead of like turning around and walking back, he just like rewind. He's like, and he goes back in the closet. I'm like, what? Why didn't you leave the room or something? You don't have to go back in the closet. It was weird. So the next day, Larry and his daughter Kirsty go out to lunch, and Larry just starts dumping all his relationships on his daughter. Like, don't do that. Don't vent your relationship problems on your kid. I don't care if she's old enough, but you guys can be buddies, but like she's supposed to be the other way around. She'd be like, Dad, I'm having problems with this John Cusack wannabe I've been hanging out with because I don't like it. Whatever, but you're just like, Julia. And then he goes so far, he's like, maybe you could stop by the house. Maybe you could talk to her. Which is a weird choice because he has to know that Kirsty hates Julia. And I'm sure the feeling is like, it's not a one-way street here. I'm pretty sure they hate each other. So I was like, oh yeah, I'll go fix that relationship. I mean, it's a tough situation too, because like on one hand, it's like, Kirsty's like, I hate Julia, but I love my dad. My dad loves Julia, so I got to be the bigger person and step in. But then again, I'm the kid. Why do I got to be the big person? Why do I got to step in here and fix this problem? Why do I even know about this problem? Fuck you, Larry. But she does it anyway. She goes, and for some reason, she's like in the trees. She's like, I don't know why she's like in the trees. Not really hiding, but not hiding either. But she gets there right about the time that Julia shows up, and she's bringing another guy home. And you know what that looks like? Because that makes all the sense. Oh, she's being cold to you. She's distant. She never leaves the house. Oh, yes, she does. She leaves the house during the day and brings strange men home. She's having an affair. Because for all she knows, it's the same guy every time. She doesn't know what's going on. So she watches, and she's like, what the fuck? And it's funny because Julia, she's like, go on in. And then she like takes a step inside, and then she like turns back. She's like got the door. She's like, before she shuts the door, she like takes that final look, like, and still doesn't see Kirsty, who's not hiding. She's just like she's standing by a tree, but she's not like, what's going on over there? She's just like, it's like, I got here 2 seconds. Like if you'd have got here a minute later, I would have been at the doorstep knocking. I'm not hiding behind this tree spying on you. You barely beat me. So now I'm like, huh? She wasn't like, whoa, what's going on? It wasn't like some Three's Company shit where she's like, oh, what's going on over there? There's an affair? Because there wasn't an affair. This is total Three's Company shit. She takes the guy upstairs, and then Kirsty decides, I'm gonna go investigate. She goes to the door. She lets herself in. She starts kind of snooping around, trying to like I don't want to just start being like, hello, it's me, Kirsty. Hey, Julie, are you home? So she's kind of like walking around, doesn't know what's going on. And finally, this bloody guy, that Julia's having an affair with, comes like staggering yet escaping this room. He's like, oh, and she's like, what the fuck? Like, that's not what she was expecting to see. So she's like, what's going on in here? And then Frank comes out and like kills him. I forget exactly what happened in that part, but he looks at Kirsty, and for some reason, weird Uncle Frank, because he says, hey, it's me, it's your uncle Frank. Remember me? Blah, come to daddy. There's this weird come to daddy thing throughout this whole fucking movie. But then he didn't hit on her, but he doesn't not hit on her. Where it's like Uncle Frank clearly has a thing for his little niece now that she's all grown up, and it's even creepier because he doesn't have flesh yet. But she's like, the fuck away from me. She fights him off a couple times, and then she sees the puzzle box, and for some reason has like the sense to like grab it, and he's like, put it down, that's trouble. Like he warned her. He's like actually cool enough to warn her, but I think he's more worried that she's gonna open it and then he's gonna be fucked because he's kind of a prick. So she takes it, it's like, this means something to you? And she throws it through the window. He's like, no. Then she bolts, goes outside, picks the puzzle box back up, starts hauling ass. She's running and running and running and running. And then she like starts walking. Then she like gets all like hate, like, and she like passes out on the sidewalk. And she wakes up in the hospital. She wakes up and tries to leave, but her Lionel Richie looking doctor tells her to lay back down. It's not time to sail on down the line yet. He gives her the puzzle box back. She starts playing with it, and a crack in this brick house opens, revealing some kind of portal, so she enters. Next thing you know, she dances on the fucking ceiling until a creature chases her back into the room. She looks back, and the wall is once again just a wall. She tries to close the puzzle box, and then the Cenobites show up, and we finally meet Pinhead. And they're here to take her away, because she's the one doing it. So, like a smart girl, she throws Frank under the bus, says, hey, I know who you're after, and I know where he is, and I can lead you to him. What kind of shitty demons can't find the dude who's hiding out in the room that they fucking killed him in. Kirsty goes back to Larry's, her dad's house. She wants to make sure he's okay. She's really worried about him. She gets there. She doesn't notice he's there, and she's like, "Thank God you're all right." But she doesn't notice. It's dark, but it's not that dark. But his hairline is like blood, like almost to the point where it's like his face was cut off and then sewn onto another face. Except everything's the same. There's just blood, and it's weird, and he's acting kind of creepy. And little does Kirsty know that Julia gave in. I was like, you know what? You want to kill Larry? Go ahead. Which is kind of weird to be like, I like Frank more than Larry, but if I could have Frank back in Larry's body, I'd be equally happy. Yeah, maybe I'm shallow. I don't know. But so she is like talking to him, saying Frank is back. Because according to what she knows, nobody really knows that Frank died. I mean, Kirsty knows it. Larry does now because Larry did. And so she's like, Frank is back. He's in the room. I can show him. And Larry's like, don't worry. So it's not really there. Don't worry. I took care of him. He won't be bothering anybody. I killed him. She's like, really? He's like, yes. Don't worry about Frank anymore. And she's like, well, can I go see? Which is funny. Because Larry's just kind of a bitch in this whole thing. Nobody takes him seriously. Nobody, if he says something, be like, whatever. Shut up, Larry. Julia leads Kirsty to the room where Frank's body is. And she's in there for a while. And it's like disgusting. Because it's disgusting. It's like, you killed him? Did you skin him too? And then the Cenobites show up. And they're like, they know right off the bat, that ain't Frank. That might be his old body, but that ain't him. And so Hellraiser, or Pinhead, is like, I wish he talked like the Emperor. I wish he'd like, Take us to the man who did that. He would be way less intimidating if that's how he talked to me. Take us to the man who did this. I will break his world apart. But she's like, take us to the... I don't know what he did. He talked like Batman. Like, take us to the man who did this. But he's like, he's not buying it. She's like, oh shit. So she runs out of there. She goes downstairs. She figures it out. It's like, that's my dad. You're my uncle in my dad's body. Because he starts acting weird. Oh, because he said come to daddy a couple times. Just like Frank in his old body did. And so she's like, she puts two and two together. I'm probably throwing off this sequence completely right now. But I don't feel like re-editing. Because I don't want to. So, I don't like this movie that much. So, he comes at her. Julia's behind her. Like she's going to try and like grab her and hold her and be like, oh, we're going to... I don't know what they're planning to do. But he takes his knife that he's been brandishing and he goes to stab Kirsty, and Kirsty moves out of the way and he stabs Julia instead. And Julia's like, oh no, what have you done? And he's like, bitch, I don't care. Because Frank, this is when Julia learns the harsh lesson, the harsh reality. Frank is about Frank. Frank killed his own brother so he could come back to life. He'll kill you. He wants to fuck his niece. He's trying to get away from the Cenobites, which he somehow doesn't yet know that they're up there. So he gets out or he gets away. He kills her. He's like, tough shit. Later, chases after Kirsty. Kirsty runs back in the room. The Cenobites come out. And he runs in there and he's like, sees Cenobites. He's like, motherfucker. He's like, you set me up. Like, I trusted you. How could you do this? And the Cenobites are like, hey, long time no see, Frank. And then the hooks come back in and they rip them apart again. And I think it's over at that point, at least for Frank. But then Kirsty thinks she can just leave. She's like, all right, you got your Frank, you got your puzzle box. I'm out. See you later. Nice knowing you. And they're like, we still want your soul. But they decided they want her too. And she's like, what? So she gets the puzzle box, starts like configuring it and like solving it. You know, that Rubik's Cube with consequences. And she kind of puts it back together. And it's weird because like Pinhead, like, because she saw it go back into the cube. Pinhead's the first Cenobite to disappear. What a bitch. And then, like, as she does more, the other ones, they start to disappear one by one, and they all do. And, like, right about then, Steve shows up. She's like, oh, Kirsty. And they run out of the house. The house catches on fire and burns down, like, within probably about a minute and 45 seconds. And they're just kind of sitting there. And there's, like, no house. There's just, like, little flame here, flame there, flame. Like, there's still fire, but there's no house. There's random little, like, tiny campfires everywhere, except there's like one big one. And then that fucking cricket-eating homeless guy comes walking up, and he's like, he walks up to the fire, and he reaches down, and he picks up the puzzle box, and then he like turns into this skeleton dragon thing. It's like, and he flies away, and the movie ends. Yeah. People got mad at me for making fun of this movie. I don't get it. Alright, so Hellraiser wasn't that bad. It's kind of fun. You just kind of walk in not knowing what to expect. Especially since, I think like I said earlier, he's an iconic figure who's kind of on that Mount Rushmore of slashers from like the 70s and 80s, but he doesn't slash anybody, so you're expecting a slasher and you don't really get it. And not only do you not get it, you don't get any Pinhead. I mean, he literally has like 7 minutes in the movie, and I hear that it took like 6 hours to put on his makeup, so they probably were like, okay, it took 6 hours, we're gonna do one take, whatever we can't do today, we're gonna edit out, so do your best. It was funny because I was reading this thing, I think it was on IMDb, where at the after party, he went and like none of the other actors would talk to him. And he's like, well, that's weird. It seemed like I got along with everybody on the set and all the other actors, we got along pretty good. And now I'm here at this party and everybody's just kind of ignoring me. But it turned out later he found out that like without his makeup on, they had no idea who the fuck he was. They're just like, who's that old guy? So Hellraiser, it's okay. Sorry to that group I offended. The Badass Award goes to Kirsty for fighting off Frank, stealing his puzzle box, and turning him over to the Cenobites so he could be dealt with once and for all. What did we learn? Survival tips. Don't play with ancient Rubik's cubes. Don't have one-night stands in the middle of the day. If you're in a hospital and the walls open up revealing a secret corridor, do not enter! If you like this video, hit like and subscribe, and share. Visit my Facebook page and tour my website where you can scroll through my library of hundreds of written reviews.